Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. No matter what time of day you're joining us, whether you're joining us on the live or on the replay, I want to welcome you to this episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network, always sponsored by CVC Success Group. And our topic today, the subject matter we're going to go over is spring training. Because in many home service industries, spring and summer is when a vast majority of the training is done. Now, actually, training is something we need to do year round and different ways that we can do that. But historically, this is when we see the interest for spring training coming up. And already this year, I know in our case, we've been to several events. We went to Lindeman University a few months ago. We went to the HPEBA show and expo, just did that a few weeks ago. So we're already seeing people get into this. But this is the thing, in this day and time, what we're seeing in the chimney service industry that we work with very heavily, we're seeing that the educational offerings, the number of them are astounding. I mean, it is truly amazing. Back when I started this business, we didn't have this kind of training. And today we have all the different groups and we have the companies doing training live presentations around the country. And then also we have the virtual offerings, which we have ours, the CVC Virtual Academy. So today we want to talk about what is the spring training, because all three of us will be en route in the next few days, headed down to Orlando, Florida for the annual National Chimney Sweep Guild Convention and Trade Show. So, Josh, what's your thought on how to get your training? There was a number of years that you had your own work crews, and I know you brought training segments, training sessions into Tri County at Magic Broom, and you sponsored some there and even allowed companies. So, what's your thought process on the spring training theme that we've got today?
Well, first I would segment on by skill set. So pellet service, gas service, wood service. As me and you have talked numerous times, the guy that can do it all is very rare, and especially one who can do it all very well. Um, you know, so I liked bringing it when we paired up with a partner company. Um, we had two other companies that were out of our region, but close enough for an hour and a half drive where we could do trainings together, where we could split the cost of doing in-house training. Then we didn't have to worry about guys being poached, and we could control the narrative that way. Also, if you look at balancing out travel costs of taking your whole crew to a training versus bringing in a trainer, you're pretty close to a net of where it just balances out.
Yep. And Josh, I can remember coming up and the trainings you're talking about. I can remember that when I would come up and teach those seminars, and I had three of you that were all clients, and we would pick a central location somewhere in the middle for all three of you to come to. Then you just said the key thing. By being there, all three of the employers were sitting in the training all day, and you didn't have to worry about your employees being poached, which is definitely a concern. I know that if we go back to Brandy Biswell and her and Jeremy, they never allowed their people to go to training unless one of them went along to chaperone them. Okay. And I've had other clients that have had this concern about, I send people to training and the next thing happens, somebody is poaching them. So you've hit some good points that people need to keep in mind. So
that definitely happened right before we sold the business. I sent guys to the CSIA masonry class, and the next thing they were telling me, said, yeah, we're getting offers emailed to us.
Yeah, same thing happened. We've seen them come up to people right there. Used to be a guy in the industry, JP Drangler. He used to be the world's worst about that. He would go and he was trying to poach people, showing up at every training seminar that he could. So I've got some additional thoughts on this I'm going to bring up further into this shortly. But Cheryl, what's your thought on this?
Well, we're coming up on the time when, especially the chimney service business, it's starting to slow down. So you've got a more attentive audience as far as your trainees go, because that's what we use this time of year for. So different companies, different professions would use different times of the year. But this is the time that you can really push your training. Like he said, it's easier to bring them in or bring them to you and do it in house. I enjoy the platform part of it because a lot of people are online learners. And so, really, what we've tried to do here at CVC, especially, is set it up so we can train the way they like to be trained.
Yep. And Chuck Roydhouse just put in an excellent comment. On-site training, and that means at your own location, can be customized to your need to drill down on specific topics and skills is the best ROI. So Chuck said something there that's very, very important because I've done training specific for Chuck. Chuck would tell me when he was a client, okay, Jerry, this is the problem we've got. And so I need you to design a training which catered to that need. Okay. It was like, I can remember one time that I did a follow-up seminar after I'd done one that was entitled Transforming Your DNA. And this way I went back and did a step 2 of this, which was transforming your DNA 1 year later, where we dealt with the specific issues that Chuck was seeing in his business. And see, one of the things that Chuck's very good at, Chuck, chime in here if you've got any more comments on that. He's very good at tracking and measuring and figuring out where the weaknesses are. And I think that's what we've got to do with our training is we've got to put our people through training that takes care of the weaknesses in the business. You know, I'm pretty heavily vested this time of year doing SWOT meetings. And SWOT is spelled SWOT. Well, the W stands for the weaknesses. So going in and doing a SWOT meeting for a company and we get everybody involved involves these weaknesses. So I think that's what people got to look at. I think so often they see somebody saying, hey, we're doing such and such a seminar and it's closed, so we go. But is it actually taking care of what you need? And is there a true return on your investment? Because training isn't cheap, okay? Whenever you're sending your people, Josh, what was it like to face the cost of the downtime from the training? We were paying our people to go to the training. We had the expenses of sending them, as in their mileage, their hotel stays, their meals, all these things. And how do you look at that to make the best decision for your business?
So let's just say we had a training that was 4 hours away. I mean, most of the time you're paying the guys for the day. So and you're also losing a day's worth of revenue. And just say your crews are averaging about $2,000 a day and you got 4 crews, that's $8,000. That's not coming in that day. And you figure you get 2 days of that's $16,000. Actually, you're going to have 3 days because you have 2 travel days and you're going to have a training day. Just say it's a 1-day training. So what we're at $24,000.
Yeah.
And versus if you bring the trainer in, trainer's going to run you probably let's just say $4,000. There's a $20,000 savings right off the bat.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, that's one of the reasons, like April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I'm actually doing a hybrid seminar. And this is limited only to our clients at CVC Success Group. So in a hybrid seminar, what I'm doing is I'm presenting this virtually. This is basic chimney sweep technician training. And we will put them through a virtual training, which is live facilitated. It's just like being in the classroom, but we call it a hybrid because we'll also be having people sitting in the class live here in our classroom at our office. So that's what we call a hybrid set where people can take advantage of it from you know, how it benefits them the best and how to make the best investment. We look at this by doing this. This is a benefit of being one of our clients because our clients are not paying any additional fees for the training they'll be doing April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And they can make their choice of traveling here. So I'm going to add what Chuck just said. If you do not do an internal SWOT as an ongoing habit, you're wasting resources and fooling yourself. You must set the example to get employee buy-in. And then he went further and said, training is an investment, never an expense. So all those things are excellent. So Cheryl, as we're talking here, what thoughts are coming through your mind?
Well, we see every day that people have issues. That's going to happen. So the thing that we need to realize is we're bringing new people in all the time. I mean, I hire on a daily basis. We're always bringing new people in. We need to catch them up to speed off time. And then they need to go to these classes, because the thing about it, it's a camaraderie thing for the guys. They're able to converse about it. What I love is when we do these on-site trainings here, I hear the guys talking about what you said. You go out of the room to get a Coke or something, and they're sitting there talking about what you're training. And so you see they're actually grasping it. They're understanding things more. But it's always a question, like Josh says, do you bring them in or do you take them out? And I agree with Josh. 20,000 is 20,000 any way you turn it.
Yeah. And Cheryl, looking back at your own experience, one of the things that you did as the owner of IBD Outdoor Rooms is you did a lot of outdoor room training, outdoor kitchen, all this. I can remember when you, myself, and Ken Warren, back some years ago, we were doing regular training, and we had as many as 90 dealers came here for that training live back, like I said, 15, 20 years ago when we were starting IBD at that point. So, I mean, again, is there a lot of training involved in being able to effectively and properly work in the outdoor room arena?
Yeah, there's a good bit. People think it's a throw together thing. You're working usually with gas. There's a lot of things you need to learn about the gas and design, the layout. I mean, it's an outdoor kitchen, just like an indoor kitchen. It needs to be laid out certain ways. It's not just something you sit out there. I mean, you can buy stagnant ones from like Home Depot and places like that. But if you want something a little more and set up exactly like you want to, you need a designer or someone that's been trained in the design in-house. So it wasn't just in how to design them, though. It was how to sell them. It's a high-end product. It's not a one and done. Believe me, they don't walk into your shop one day and say, I want this, 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 and this, and you start on it Monday. It's a longer process, and that's why a lot of people have a hard time doing outdoor living in their businesses. But once you train a company, they learn, they see where they're going. So yeah, I still do private trainings a lot of times. When somebody gets 2 or 3 new people, I'll do a day-long Zoom. Rarely, we don't have them come in like we used to, but I do them not often, but on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well, when we were doing that training, outdoor living was a pretty new venture for a lot of people. If you remember right, we were kind of at the forefront of that when we started doing it around 2004, 2005, in that range. That's when you and I got featured on a lot of industry trade journals, on the cover of Home and Hearth magazine, Casual Living, articles about us, those type of things. Josh, I'm going to switch over to you. You said something a while ago that I think is key, and that is a technician in the chimney and the hearth industry has different disciplines that they've got to learn. Okay, number one, they've got to learn the discipline of proper venting. They also have to learn the discipline of gas. They have to learn the discipline of wood combustion. They have to learn the discipline of pellet combustion. They have to learn the discipline of fuel oil, of gas. How these different things work. That's something. How long, Josh, your opinion, taking and training a raw person coming into this industry with basic skills, read a tape measure, he knows which end of the hammer to hold. To quote one of Josh's comments years ago, I'll be happy if they knew which end of the hammer to hold, which was one of your statements. But how complicated is it, and how much training does it take?
That takes a lot on the individual. I'm more a little bit, I'm gonna say, I'm on top of the food chain. I learned everything I know about pellet service and gas service in 4 days of teaching by Dave Pomeroy. I soaked it up like a sponge. But I had also been in the industry for a while. So he gave me all the hard skills that I needed.
Yeah.
But if you want someone, I mean, really just to understand venting and stuff, that's a year.
Yeah.
And even then, if you were to ask, like one of the things I do is I ask salespeople, I'm like, okay, I give them pictures and I'm like, design me the vent run. Someone that's been doing it for years, and they just look at you like you're from outer space.
Yeah.
That's that takes time. That takes lots of practice. It's okay. The stove is this height and then the hole is this height. So how do we get there? And they just kind of go glossy eyes.
Yeah, that's it. One of the things that I picked up, and we've had two different broadcasts on Rilla Voice, and this is all about voice analysis and voice analytics. So, been working with this for a couple weeks, and this is what it's telling me, Josh, is exposing weaknesses in communication that are pretty unreal. I mean, if you were actually listening to every word that your people said, and you had a computer running a voice analysis, such as let me show you one example. The patience level. This is something I just learned this past week, that Rilla Voice can measure the patience of your technician. Because this is one of the things, if we don't have patience with our customers, Cheryl, what's it like when a technician, a salesperson, doesn't have patience with you?
It's not pretty. I mean, I'm not, and I don't need a lot of knowledge, but I want their attention. I want them to listen to what I've got to say and then give me the correct answers. A, I'm not a real patient person myself. I work on that every day that goes by. But if you're selling something, you have to get back and you've got to stay out of my face and tell me in the way I want to learn. And that's the thing where most people don't understand that patience thing. People don't understand everything that you're saying. You have got to be patient.
Right. And Chuck just put in another comment. They need to learn to listen to wants and needs, communicate, build trust, get all the documentation required to serve the client. Tech training is only one part. You still need customer interaction skill training to win the day. And yeah, we've known that for years, and where it's what we call soft skills. But this is a big thing. And that's why, I go out and travel with technicians at times and actually go to job sites and listen. But, this analytical thing from Rilla Voice is enabling me to see things that it was very hard. I couldn't tell you how many words a minute a technician was speaking. But with this, I can see that their voice output is overwhelming. They're also, some of the language they're using is not the most professional language. And that's what I say, as we develop more into the AI, what I've also heard, Josh, and this may be news to you, but we have people that are entering into apprenticeship programs. And I talked to representatives of the NCSG. How many hours of training do you think is being required for this apprenticeship? What do you think, Josh? Top of your head.
2,000 hours.
It's actually 161.
That's
161 hours of some type of set training. It can be in person, it can be online, but it's got to be. That's what's being set up in some of the states. So
this
what
is
we're looking
classroom. This is all,
Huh?
but this is all classroom.
This is all classroom, yes.
So
Teaching.
so 4 weeks of classroom experience.
Basically, yes. That's what's involved. But again, how many technicians get that kind of training, Josh? They really don't when we look at it. As home service industries historically have been come to work, put you on the truck. Hey, you watch what Sam does. And Bill, you learn from Sam. You do it just like Sam doesn't. And we got a mess because nobody is really following in the processes,
No.
So go ahead.
No, I liked when Al Levy says you follow the book, you're off the hook. When you
There you go.
write your SOPs, and everyone does it the same way. I mean, our service department grew after we moved a problem, experienced employee out because he could never train anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And, guys like that actually hold you back, even though they may work really hard, very dependable. But, the service department grew when we moved that person into a different position.
That's it. So that's what you got to do. It's springtime. Training should go on year round. Just to be honest with you, every morning, I think you need a short segmented training, just a few minutes going over specific issues. That's why we devised our daily training tidbits and recorded about 550 of these at this point on our virtual academy. But now's the time to drill down, get really serious, spend the time. So, Cheryl, anything you want to add to this topic before we close out today?
Yeah, get a trainer that knows, number one, how to train. Like you were talking about Sam earlier. Sam may not have known how to train. Sam may not be doing it correct, and he may be training wrong. So get a professional trainer, someone that's been in the business or has at least studied the business enough to know what to tell people and how to tell them correctly.
Dead on the money, exactly as how I see it. And that's one of the things that we tell people. You can have the greatest technician in the world, but it doesn't mean that he is a great trainer of other people. So, because you've got to understand the student, and so many people, they're just not good trainers. So, Josh, any closing thoughts from you, brother?
No, I would say break it down by fuel type first. The oil industry has some great classes as well. I took one through the local community college to get my NORA Silver Heat certification, just so I could learn a little bit more. Don't ask me to service your boiler, but someone out there says I'm certified to do it. But I would break it down by, who can learn gas this year, and even then, I don't even think gas isn't the most profitable of services. Very low residuals there unless you have parts on the truck. Doesn't make a lot of money unless you just got a guy out there grinding away.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you joining us. If you're going to be at the National Chimney Sweep Guild Convention in Orlando next week, we'll all be there. We look forward to seeing you. Please come by our booth. I think the booth is number 310, but we'll be there. We'll be glad to answer any questions. Do you have anything about training? You have any frustrations? You want to know about SWAT meetings? You want to know about the services we offer? It'll be a great time to talk to us. You got hiring challenges, Cheryl will be there. We can talk about that. If it's talking about setting up a wiki page with your SOPs, having them in a digital format, what I call a digital knowledge base, Josh will be there. We can talk about that. So anyway, appreciate you joining us today on this episode of the CVC Home Service Network. And we'll see you next time. We will not be doing a broadcast next week since we will be located in Orlando at the show. So we'll see you when we're back online in just a couple weeks. Appreciate you joining us today. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure as always. Have a fantastic weekend and safe travels to you